welcome all those who are tuning in to our event this evening. Welcome. We thank you. We invite you to make this a watch party and share the link with others so that they can join in the conversation. We're expecting a very impactful and energizing evening tonight. So I just want to give a few minutes to welcome all our guests who are joining us live on social media. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. My name is Arlene Connolly Drummond, and I'm excited to be here. I'm the president and CEO of IC Group, and we are a human development company that is committed to igniting the spirit to excel in excellence. We do innovative and interactive experiences for families. We do relationship and family coaching, and we are just excited about reclaiming family with a particular focus on strengthening the presence of fathers in the lives of children. And so excited about the opportunity tonight. And tonight, our topic, we'll hear a little bit more about that, but you see my my wonderful sidekick here, my ace, my partner in crime. I'll let her introduce herself, but you know, you can tell that's my daughter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zakia Becca, and yes, I am her daughter. I am community engagement manager at Hands on Broward, and I am currently studying to become a marriage and family therapist. And I'm 28 years old.
All right. Exciting. And so what we're going to do is just get to know who else is joining us this evening. And so we'll do a little bit of introductions. We're all going to take turns introducing ourselves, and you're going to get to learn a little bit more about us as we go through the evening. So why don't we start with our wonderful family. Dr. Tenney.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
All right, so Dr. Tenney, if you can introduce yourself and then do a round robin of the family there, that would be great.
Okay, hello, I'm Dr. Thelma Tenney. I'm founder and CEO of Healing Arts Institute of South Florida. We provide mental health services for youth and their families. And to my left, I have Carter. He is my 10-year-old son, and he is the inspiration behind Healing Arts Institute. And to my right, I have my husband, Ed Tenney, and he is a engineer. He builds, we're kind of in the same field, whereas I work with as a first responder to crisis and mental health crisis. He provides two-way radios for the fire department and police department and first responders.
Awesome. So excited. You took time out of your busy schedule this evening to be with us. Thank you all for being here. I'm just excited to have connected with this beautiful family and looking forward to just having a great and entertaining evening of conversation. Also, let us welcome the Hardman family. And I'll let you start. Crystal, can you introduce the family? Crystal?
I hear you. Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Crystal Richmond Hardiman. I am a program coordinator and site activities director for a nonprofit program in Lake Worth, Florida. We primarily cater to the youth of the community, but we also do community outreach for families. To my immediate right is my daughter, Kaylee Hardiman. She is 13 years old. This little guy in front is DJ, or Derek Hardiman Jr. He is in the 5th grade and he is 10 years old. And my partner, my wonderful husband, Derek Hardiman, he is a teacher, a high school teacher in Boynton Beach.
So excited for the Hardiman family to be with us. You know, it was just a great pleasure to have met this family and looking forward to us having a dynamic conversation. And so let's share the other half of our family unit here. So Zakia, why don't you introduce your dad?
Well, I'll introduce.
And
So I like to say that I have a lovely parental unit. And so other than my mother here to my right, I have my dad and my stepmom, Delia Becca and Lance Becca, here with us as well. Introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Delia Becca, and I am currently working at Ernst & Young as a leader of equitable experiences. And I'm very happy to be here and sharing this moment.
thank you, Delia.
How you doing? I'm Lance Becca, and we are in New Jersey right now, and I work for the power company Connolly in New York. 30 years, vice president of electric operations on Staten Island and electric services, and very happy to be a part of this to have a great discussion and share some experiences.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful. You know, we talk about family and how important family is to us. So you have a frontal face of those of us who are here. And then I have a team of family who's in the background. My husband is in the background, making sure all things are operating. So thank you, Michael, back there. I have Deandra, my niece, she's back there, making sure people on the chat engage. I have my other sister friend, Winsome, she's on there, making sure that we stay engaged and all stay connected. So I thank my support team in the background who are just I know doing a fabulous job already, making sure that all goes well. So what brings us here tonight? The topic, hidden voices. How are we really doing? We have now just completed, not even completed, right? It's about a year that we have been under this cloud called the pandemic, COVID-19. We've heard it called all kinds of names. My daughter calls it.
It's just COVID. We will stick with that today.
She calls it all kinds of funny names. And I love it. We're on the panorama. She calls it all kinds of funny names, but it is, it's been about a year, a little over a year now. And tonight we really just wanted to have a conversation and step into our living room, our space as a family unit, and really begin to talk about what has that experience been like for us as a family. All of us here on this call, we are family. What has it been like for us? What have we learned? What have we uncovered and discovered about ourselves? How did it stretch us? And so we want to dive into that tonight. And we're going to have just what we call a very organic conversation where we share. So you're not going to hear me just say, so this question and that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to talk, we're going to share. And I love to be real and transparent. I don't think there's any other way to be. So that's what we're going to do. So,
oh, and for all of those who are watching, please add to the comments, ask any questions you may have, share any experiences, or if something resonates with you or something comes up for you, please share it. We want to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you all for joining, and thank you to the wonderful families who are here tonight. So can we ask, I want to ask the question, just real plain, how are we doing? How are we? How are we really? Not the surface. Hey, how are you? And we say, hi, I'm good. No, we're going to dig a little deeper. How are we doing?
Okay. I saw you all unmute, but I think that we are overwhelmed. We are stressed. Lots of anxiety, but we're managing. Just working on getting out and feeling safe to get out of the house. We've had to develop what this new normal is going to be. Definitely not trying to go back to the past. I'll share something about myself. I am diagnosed OCD. So I'm loving this time where everybody's washing their hands and there's sanitation everywhere. So I'm that person who's looking to report everybody who's not doing what they're supposed to do. it's okay. It's manageable. There are a lot of anxieties, though, as I mentioned, and as a therapist, what I've done, and Arlene and I have talked about this, is I have to make sure that I'm taking it and doing all of the things that I'm prescribing for my clients. So I'm practicing self-care. I'm doing meditation. I'm doing all the things that I'm telling everyone is beneficial to them and making sure I'm not falling behind, or my son or my husband for that matter.
Absolutely. Eddie, how
Thank
you
you for
doing?
sharing.
I guess as I reflect on the past year, um, I would kind of look at it as um, I've been extremely blessed. I made a job change just before COVID kicked in real good. Um, and with that job change, I guess because of the type of radio products that we provide to emergency service personnel, we were on that tier where we were a necessary business, so we weren't closed down. So I was extremely blessed in that, you know, we were able to continue with work. I still received a paycheck. Um, we had to do the work from home for a little bit when they had the uh, country shut down, if you will. But all that did was kind of set up scenarios that fed right into Thelma's OCD. She didn't have to be around people. Uh, Carter adjusted very well because he didn't have to be around other kids. Um, so, in essence, even though we had to kind of find our new footing, if you will, trying to um, make our way through COVID, there were a lot of, I guess, blessings that came as a result of the virus itself that just kind of facilitated us being closer as a family because we had to, you know, work together, be together, uh,
Live together.
yeah, live together. So I guess from Ed Tenney's perspective, it really wasn't all that bad. I didn't catch COVID. I just followed all the protocols, wearing masks, staying the 6 feet. I did have to stand in line, you know, early on at the Walmart to get supplies and stuff like that. But um, I'm blessed. I've been blessed.
And Arlene, we talked about this, total transparency. We know that our story may not be the norm, and we have not really had a platform to share our experience because of our mindfulness that this is a horrific time. People are dying, people are losing loved ones. We know people who have um, lost their lives to COVID. So we don't share this, right? We hold this in, even though it's okay, because we know that we are not the norm. And it was when you asked me to come on, and I said, well, I don't think you want us to come on because, right, what we have to share um, is not, again, it's not the norm. Those of you may know, well, may not know, but Arlene knows Carter has autism. So he's been asking to be homeschooled for 2 years, and mommy never had time, right? It was like, no, you got to go to school. And now he's homeschooled, so he loves it. So all the things that he's been asking for a garden for 5 years. We finally have a garden out back. So we've been able to, I've been able to take time to not just be that working CEO mom, but that homeschool mom, and still keep my caseload, still teach at my institution, still supervise therapists in my private practice, and we've just found a wonderful way to make it work.
And Dr. Tenney, I'm so glad because I wanted you to come on because there's a balanced story that we all need to hear. We can't dwell on the fact that it's only been doom and gloom, because at the end of the day, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of the horrific loss that we've incurred as a country, as a nation, but as a world globally, you know, the depth of loss. Um, there's a silver lining in between that, and there's the hope that we have to hold on to, and there's those nuggets and those times when we can see we have travailed, we have risen above it. And so it is important that we're not silent so that our kids can have hope. Otherwise it would be feeling very doom and gloom if we couldn't see some semblance of joy or peace or finding a way to navigate through such difficult times. And so I'm so glad you're here to share.
Yeah.
So I you know, Crystal, just take it. Crystal.
Yes. Okay. So, how are we doing? Since the pandemic began, you know, one of the big deals was about school ending and not being in. And with him being a school teacher, me being in the business of aftercare, there was a lot of holding our breaths. There was a lot of one day to the next, and it was tough. It was hard because we didn't know what was going to happen, and plans changed day by day and sometimes by hour. So we experienced a lot of anxiety. Um, we For me and him, we kind of made it fun, those outings to go and find supplies. And it was like we said it's just gonna be like hurricane prep. But as it went on, it started to become, okay, this is really happening. It really started to sink in. And I actually did contract COVID because I went back to work in the summer. That was something that I can't even put into words, the experience of that, because I was in the home with my family and I couldn't be around them. And it was rough. And I think the loneliness over the actual physical sickness was the worst part for me. And also during that time, we suffered a tremendous family loss. And we've all, right now at this point, we are all mending. I feel like we're on the better side of it, but on top of everything, normal day-to-day things are way more blown out of proportion than what they were before. But at the same time, we've all become very much closer. Before the pandemic, I got up in the morning, took my kids to school, and I didn't see them again until almost 8 o'clock at night. When they would get up, he wouldn't even be home because he has to leave for work early. So we were very divided as a family. Now I feel like we are so much closer, and I'm very thankful for that. We're just closer as a family now. We are very open. We've touched on things that we never thought we would get into. We've learned to lean on each other. We're a team. And also we have to, because although we do have a wonderful network of friends here, we don't have any other family here. And that's also been tough because we miss our families. But yeah, that's pretty much where, from my perspective, where we are.
Kaylee, you look like you want to share.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kaylee, how are you doing? How's this
yes,
been for you?
It's been like stressful. Like at first I kind of liked it because I don't really like being around people because I have like a little bit of like social anxiety. So I don't like being around people. So it was better for me. But then as time went on, it was kind of like I was in my room all the time. And then I kind of feel like I had to deal with it by myself because I didn't want to burden my family with it. Because now I know that Oh, sorry. Now I know it wouldn't have been a burden to them, but at the time I was like, we're dealing with losing somebody, and then also she's sick and we're all taking care of her. So I didn't want to talk to them. But then like now I know how to talk to them because they talked to me first and they were like, you need to talk to us because you shouldn't be like this. And like, yeah, but now it's better, especially since we can go out more, since it's a bit safer kind of. But yeah.
Kaylee, thank you so much for sharing that. You already began to touch on a piece that I think is so important. Um, you know, how do we share with our parents, with our family members, with those we care about, what we're feeling when we're observing that they may be stressed or they have a lot going on, and they already seemed overwhelmed, and we as as children, we want to protect our parents as well, and so we hold back because we're trying to be stronger for them. But that ability, what you just said, your parents came to you and started the conversation. So many times we miss the opportunity as parents to have that conversation with our kids, to check in, to see how they're doing, because we are as busy. And to the comments that both families have said thus far, the fact that this pandemic caused us to slow down. It caused us to it disrupted our old pattern of how we were operating. We were hamsters on a wheel. And the thing that's the main thing, the reason why we are, the thing that's supposed to drive us is our family. It is the most important thing, and our connection to our family. It's the most important thing. But yet still, we were so busy, being busy within the vein of doing for our families, we weren't connecting with the people that were most important. And I think the pandemic caused us to slow down. I just want to tap into Lance right there.
It's funny that one of the things I've been saying for a lot of years at work was that the main reason why we come to work is for our families. And the thing is though too, and a lot of times I think that, like you said, we lose track of that. For somebody who's been there for 30 years, working 16 hours a day, months without a day off, it was a normal thing because that's what we do, because we figure that's what we need to do, but not realizing that there's certain things that were more important than just work. I would definitely say I agree with you that when the one thing I say about this pandemic, and there's a lot of things that's positive came out of it. You said we stop and breathe, we refocus and understand what's really important. Do all the stuff that we think that we cherish or we think that's valuable. Is it really valuable? But when you go back to the basic part, it's all about family, the connection that we make. The thing is that through this pandemic, through the technology, we were able to have we had a lot of family reunions. We had a sound clash with family members. We had, and these are family members that were all over the US, in Jamaica. We were having sound clash and having a good old time. And these are people that, when I say that I lived in Brooklyn, they live in Manhattan, and now I live in New Jersey, and they're still in Manhattan, that we never saw. And I drive past their house, and I work all over the city. But now, because of making sure that I'm refocusing, we got a chance to spend time with each other. That honestly, I don't know if it would have ever happened, because again, a lot of us realize that we only see, at this age, we see folks at either weddings or funerals. And we always keep saying, we got to make time to catch up, and we never do. But I would just say that because of this, that we actually make the time to catch up. The one thing is that I will tell you about this COVID thing is real. So I actually got the virus, and I was in a hospital. And I knew I was in trouble because within the first couple of hours, they kept asking me if I have a living will. I think they must have asked me about 8 times within the first hour I was there. Really made me start to think, about what's going on here. I had pneumonia. I had 104 degrees. They were packing ice under my armpits. They were doing all kinds of different things to get my temperature down. And I'm thinking to myself, is this how I'm going out? all these years. I got a couple more years to retire. I didn't do all the things I want to do, you know, and it really became tough. And then the hardest part about it is being in a hospital room and you're by yourself. You know, you can make phone calls, but you're really not having that connection that you really want to have. And everything on my mind is what's going to happen to my wife, what's going to happen to my family, what's going to happen to Zakia, you know. And I was like, oh my God, this can't be the end. And I remember when they told me that they might have to put me in a machine, and I was like, that's not going to happen. I was doing push-ups, I was doing sit-ups, I was doing everything possible to make sure they put me in a machine because I had to make sure I recover and go back to what's really important to me in my life. And then I was worried because my wife is at home. She's sick. She has no energy, and there's nobody that can come help her. And it was stressful. It was devastating. And again, just thankful that and blessed that we were able to get through this. And also too, just some of the other stuff, the impacts we have on other people, trying to make sure that we help folks that did have it a lot, tougher than we did. Like you said, that fortunate to have a job, fortunate to have a real good job, but then also too being able to give back and help folks who didn't, because one of the initiatives that we focused on with our company that folks didn't have to pay their light bills. We were focusing on employees that were there that they understand how blessed they were and give them back. We had employees that was donating money out of their regular checks on a weekly basis to give to families that were less fortunate, people that didn't have jobs, didn't have food, didn't know where the next meal was coming from. And I'm proud to say that the people that I work with, all 7,800 really stepped up in a time where we really needed everybody to do what they need to do.
That's awesome. Delia?
Yeah, I guess I would describe this past year as being on a roller coaster ride that still continues. I mean, there were many ups and there were many downs, and and I think that each of us have experienced this last year at different levels in different places, but it was all of us had to shift in some kind of way, whether that means finding new ways to work, finding new ways to learn, finding new ways to be a family together. There was a shift for everyone. And I think, it's important to talk about, how we've had to make those shifts, no matter what the level was that you went through or the experiences that you had, because I've learned so much throughout this year, and I've learned that that the human race continues to be resilient. And I feel like this may have been in my lifetime, right? Because we know that there have been more horrific things that have happened throughout history. But in my lifetime, this has been the toughest thing that I've had to go through. To see, how many families were impacted, to see people lose their jobs and not know how, they were going to eat. And then to see all the beautiful things that have happened through this time. I think Lance and I were blessed through this period, to see our daughter start in graduate school. We had the oldest daughter got engaged. She got promoted at work. We both got promotions at work. So there was a lot of blessings through this as well. And so for me, the roller coaster ride continues, but I feel hopeless. I feel optimistic about the future, and not because I know when this whole situation is going to end, but because I know that we can continue to be resilient through whatever we have to come. And then the way that we have all seemed to come together and care for each other. I know when Lance and I was sick, I mean, the food that came through, and people couldn't come in the house, and I could barely walk to the door to get the packages that were being left. But just to see all the love and the care, and and how we like truly care for each other, it was very it was very uplifting for me. So I don't know. I don't know if to say that this was a good thing, a bad thing. It was just very different, and I think we all learned from it.
Yeah. You know what do you say,
I was
Zakia?
gonna
Is
ask,
life?
how are you? How are you? How are you really? Let's put you on the spot.
Good job, Kia.
How am I really? You know, it's been different. It's been different. We've been through a period of a lot of transition. And you know, some good, some challenging, but transition all the same. And it has required stretching.
Mhm.
And I can say that I've been scared. I felt the fear of when you see the numbers creeping up, and I go outside and I feel like I'm in a movie. And I'm like, what is this? Is this for real? And everything seems so surreal. And you know, it really it hit even harder when Zakia called me and said that Delia was taking dad to the hospital, because, you know, especially for all the people who think they can't get COVID, you know, Lance would be the last person I'm expecting to be in the hospital, because they're both so health conscious, and they do all the things right to take care of themselves and very focused on being well. But it's not about what we do. It's about the fact that it's a virus and it's out there, and you just don't know. And I remember that being scary, because it was hitting home. It was hitting closer to home. And so while before I'm like this surreal movie, and I'm hearing and I'm getting emails and I'm seeing people that I know and care about, you know, I had one friend of mine who said they lost 5 members of their family. And I couldn't fathom that, you know, 5 members of your family just gone. And so very challenging. And then in the middle of it, I I got married. Didn't know whenever that was ever going to happen. Didn't think it was going to happen. But in the middle of the pandemic, I married the most amazing man, and um, had a beautiful ceremony, and everyone pitched in to make it real. My daughter went above and beyond, and we put on a wedding in this short space of time, and it was just the most amazing thing, with mask and all. You know, taking every necessary precautions, feeling sad that the people we cared about and who we wanted to be physically present couldn't be there. But through technology, just like we are today, through Zoom, we were able to connect. And all the people that I cared about was on the Zoom watching the ceremony, and they got to see parts that they probably wouldn't have got to see if they were right there in the room. So it was just a beautiful thing to watch. So to, you know, Dr. Tenney, you said it, Crystal, Delia, all of you said it, is that in the middle of it, it's been a lot of devastation and feeling scared. And then I in between that, because I'm high risk, I am just like my husband, almost to you, like you, Dr. Tenney, maybe a germaphobe. And he's sanitizing the doorknobs, the this, he's spraying things, he's making sure that we're okay. And so I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. How are you?
I like to say, and I got this from a podcast I listened to, life is lifing. It's doing its thing. And if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I probably would answer that question very differently. Just because I think, like Dr. Tenney said, overwhelmed. I, thankful and happy to have a job and to be able to work, but work on top of the anxiety and the fear of what's going on and the numbers and being unsure about what's going on with even the vaccine and things like that, the state of the country and things going on. Plus, I decided to start grad school in August. And I'm like, every time I ask myself, who told me to do that? And so it was just kind of a pile on. And then part of the transition, I'm also now living on my own. So that's very different. So there's just a lot of transition happening all at once. And it's been very interesting, to say the least. It's like there were so many things I had anticipated or wanted to happen over the last few years, and a lot of them kind of happened all at once because I had time to think and sit and, okay, I haven't done this yet, let me do it now while I'm kind of sitting still. And things picked up when I wasn't expecting it. And even with work, we've had to make a complete shift on how we function. With my job, we recruit and manage volunteers all over the county. And, we have volunteers going to different opportunities and getting their service hours. And one of my biggest focuses are the teens who are getting their hours to graduate for school, the high school students. And they're coming to me like, is there anything I can do? Is there anything I do? What can I do? How can I get my hours? And you're kind of feeling and hearing their anxieties, whether it's over the phone or through email, and trying to, it's me, one person trying to help them. And it's been a lot. It definitely has been a lot, but I had gotten to a point where I decided I had to kind of choose not to stress. And once I chose not to stress, and I was like, okay, well, all of these things are going to exist, whether I'm stressing about them or not, I was able to kind of move through and pass the cloud of overwhelming feelings that I was having. And I think the scariest part was because in the beginning of the pandemic, I was fine with staying home. I'm like, I'm home. I don't have to really see anybody. I think I was on Zoom too much. But I watched, did all the Zoom stuff. I watched the versus battles on Instagram. I tried to get involved any way I can because I like being outside and I actually like being around people and, conversing and all of that. So that is something I was missing. So I tried to get all of the social opportunities that I could find. So when I got to the point where, okay, maybe I'll go outside, and then my dad and Delia got sick, I was like, maybe I won't go outside, because that was very scary for me. And even though I can't help much being there, being all the way here and not being able to be one of those people dropping things off at their door was very scary for me. And talking to my dad on video calls in the hospital was very scary to me. I was grateful to be able to see his face, but it was definitely tough. And so, like Delia said, it's a roller coaster and we're just kind of riding the wave of life.
Derek Jr., I love to hear the young voices. You know that. Derek, how's it been for you? 11 years old, fifth grade.
10 years old.
You're
No, he's 11. Mommy messed up.
11.
Good call, Kia.
I didn't like it even at the beginning because when they said I had to stay home, I knew I'll never be able to see my friends soon. And because back then, the last day at school, I thought I was going to go back next week, but then my dad told me I wasn't be able to go back because of COVID. And then I was wishing I never left yet because I was in aftercare and I didn't really want to stay longer. But then when he told me I wanted to stay longer and I was upset. And during the pandemic, when my mom got sick, I was very sad because I could not even hug her or even go in her room to see her.
Yeah. And you know, Derek is an extremely caring person who loves to help people. So I'm sure feeling helpless, Derek, you were feeling a little helpless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How you doing, Carter?
I'm doing good.
Say it again. Are you able to hear him?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
can you be a little more expressive?
I'm doing good. I'm
Doing
doing good.
How are you doing good? Why are you
I'm just
doing
happy.
good? You're just happy?
Happy?
Just happy?
That's okay.
You got your garden, Carter?
What did you plant in your garden?
We have eggplants, potatoes,
Ooh.
onions.
All right. That sounds like a dinner menu.
It does.
Awesome. So Carter, you like the fact that mommy is homeschooling you, that you're getting to learn at home? All right. Kaylee, how has learning at home been for you and transitioning from and just trying to learn in this virtual environment? How has that been for you?
It's been really good.
Oh, Kaylee.
Kaylee, it's been good. How's it been going for you?
Well, learning at home, it was not good because at first I liked it, but then that's when I started, like, my grades started dropping. So they had to send me back to school so that I could get it back up because honestly, I didn't really have any motivation while I was at home to do my work. So then that's when I was just like, I might as well not do it. And then I'll start doing it, but then that's when I'll just lose the motivation. So they sent me back to school, I think in February, and that's when I started getting my grades back up because for me it was better at school. Like I don't really like being social, but being in the house for that long was too much for me.
And that was heartbreaking because they're both wonderful and academically and at school, but she's our overachiever. She is, doesn't want to disappoint the teacher. She wants to be the best and driven. And when she walked into our room one day and said, I just don't even want to, do I even have to go to class? I don't even want to do this anymore. And it was so out of character for her. It's a lot. And I don't think that there are people that don't understand that them being at home, although they think it's a walk in the park and it's more fun, we were looking at it from parents' perspective and educators' perspective. This was hard. They were putting more work on them and less attention. And that's no fault of the teachers. The teachers are overwhelmed. So it became this full circle, or this snowball, I should say, of you could tell the teachers were overwhelmed, and then that passed on to the students. And this is what us personally were watching with her. And she loves her teachers. I don't care how old she is, what grade she is. She loves her teachers. She loves learning. But the beginning of this year, she wanted no parts of it, and I was terrified. Me and him had several conversations like, this is not going to work. It's not.
I can relate to that. Especially me being someone who I have been out of school for 5 years and I decided to go back to school and I'm like, okay, I'm going back to school. I prefer an in-person learning environment, but I wasn't getting that. And sitting on Zoom for 6 hours straight at night because classes start at 3 p.m. So sitting on Zoom for 6 hours straight was awful. I've even said to my professors, I am sick and tired of Zoom University. I don't want to do it anymore. But you do what you need to keep it going. I completely understand that, Keely. I had my moments where I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? It definitely made it a lot easier for imposter syndrome to hit for me to feel like I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be in this program. I'm not supposed to be doing this right now, because I was just so unmotivated.
Right.
So I completely understand that.
And that's so hard when I think about it. If I was in awe just watching her prepare for grad school, the level of the depth of research, the excitement, her organizing everything, and then to see that motivation just kind of
Go kaput.
you're like, what happened? And so it's real. And so Derek, I really want to hear from you as an educator in the classroom, having seen what's going on from both sides. Share your perspective.
At the beginning of the pandemic, it was very different. I found myself, instead of teaching to my students, we were literally talking for 50 minutes every day about COVID, um, about the pandemic. Are we going back to school? Um, we would just have conversations that had so many questions. And then as time went on, about April, maybe even May, you had more students, they began to not come to class. They wouldn't be on our Google Meet. I would maybe have like 2 students, maybe a day. And so as an educator, it was hard for me because I wanted to reach out to them, but I wasn't able to. And then fast forward to when school was about to start, I was I was afraid because I'm like, okay, they want to put us in the classroom. I don't know, because it's a virus and I teach science. So I teach about viruses. And so I'm like, this mask isn't really going to help much. I was nervous. But I told myself, control what you can control. And so once school started, initially I maybe had 3 or 4 students in the classroom, but about 28 students online. And I must say for this, I have 90% of my students in class every day, every period, which is great. But as I'm a hands-on type teacher. So I want to get up from my desk. The student has a question. I want to go speak to them. Okay, this is how you do this. This is what you're looking for. But the rules we have, we're not supposed to leave our desk. We have to stay behind our desk because the students that are virtual, they have to see us the entire time. So it was a little bit rough for me. Also, you have to be compassionate about what the students are going through as well. Because my students would be in class, their microphones were muted. And there would be a couple times when it would become unmuted and you could hear so much going on in the background. They would have like their little brothers and sisters in class right next to them. It was just very loud. I'm like, I know it has to be hard for them to try to learn. I'm teaching them science and they have to deal with everything in their home environment. I know it's hard. And then now, like I said, I'm teaching hybrid model, virtual, and then those students in the classroom. That's very different. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to engage both parts. It's easier to engage someone in the classroom because they're looking at me, I'm right there, I can make eye contact and I can engage them. But virtually, it's much more difficult. It is trying because my whole point is I want my students to be successful. That is it, bottom line. But with this student staying home, success is very hard to achieve. It honestly, it really is.
Thank you for sharing that. That piece where you talked about, we've heard it several times about the level of motivation and what it takes to try to navigate this virtual hybrid experience and what that has done to learning for our kids. And then I know like y'all, like you, I was really, for 30 years, I've worked with youth and families in nonprofit organizations, and I know what happens to our kids. I know that a lot of young people that I work with or I've worked with in the past, they didn't have the supportive family units that I'm seeing here. They often had families where they're in a one bedroom, it's multiple people, multiple generations, and it is a very loud, very busy environment, and it's often very challenging. And to many of the kids that I've worked with in the past, home was not a safe place, and their escape was school. And so
Exactly.
all I can think about is the number of young people who no longer had an escape. And what are they doing now that they did not have this escape? How are they coping? What are they doing? So, Dr. Tenney, for me, I'm so concerned about the mental and emotional well being of our young people, of all of us, because it's been such a trying time. But even for our young people who are still learning to develop that resiliency, they're still learning how to navigate. And for the most part, haven't had to ever deal with this level of trauma. They've had trauma. They've had the school shootings and all the different things that make them nervous. But this was a whole nother layer of trauma. And so, um, how do we, even as we're talking, all of us as parents, how are we helping our kids being able, like you said, Kaylee, to come in and share that I'm anxious, or I'm losing motivation, or I don't want to do class, and how we respond as parents. Derek, you said it. How am I being compassionate, understanding what they're going through, and knowing that it's difficult for them to learn in this new environment. So could we just talk about that a little bit?
Well, Arlene, I think you made a great point. And as you said, I think what we do is similar to what we're going to do in July, right? We're going to show people what we do so they can duplicate and do it as well. And by that, I mean, right now we are in a couple of Broward County schools where we were diligently waiting for school to open back up because us as therapists, again, we're cautious about going into the homes, especially since, like you said, now there are 10 people in the home. So, concern for our safety going into the homes, but knowing that school was the place where we could see most of our children because that was that one consistent, that was that safe space. And to be able to sit with them in lunch and have a session, or sit with them in an elective and have a session. And the schools that we work in are great. Before school opened up, they gave us a list of students that were no contact, right? And we assisted the schools in calling, right? Calling from different numbers, going and knocking on doors to see if the student actually lives at this home address, to engage and say, hey, we have a partnership with the school and we just want to make sure you're okay. Do you need anything? And refer them to food, places that can help them with food, referring them to 211, making that phone call with them to get services put in the home. So a lot of our work turned to social work on top of therapy, but that's definitely what's needed, just to pick a school, right? We can't do everything. We are only 10 therapists, so we can only stretch so far. But if other agencies reach out and everybody adopt the school, and these agencies go into the school and implement this program to make sure that the kids are okay. And how do we help? I know there's not a school that you can't go in now and say, I'm so and so from, right, Healing. I'm Dr. Tenney from Healing Arts Institute. How can I help you? Right. And following the protocol, getting MOU signed, getting to the proper person, knowing that the principals do control who come in and out of the school. So it can happen. It can happen when you make those connections with the principals. And I'll ask Mr. Richmond, has that been his experience? Are there outside providers coming in, providing support or assistance? In addition to, I know there were therapists hired in the schools now. And just think, if a school hires 2 therapists, how many kids are assigned to those 2 therapists? Right. So,
Get it?
right, it's not, it's only a drop in the bucket.
And that is so true because at my school, we do have a mental health professionals. I think we have two, like you said, we have two. And pretty much if we have someone that's saying or exhibiting that they're stressed or they need some to speak to someone, we can refer them. But that's only if they come to us and talk about it. And most of our students do not really come forth. And as far as outside help trying to come in, I have not heard of any. So I do not know. I just know of our two health professionals that we have on campus, and they're constantly urging us, you know, talk to your students, see if anyone needs any help. If they need to speak to someone, please refer them. They're constantly on us about that because they do understand that mentally this is hard for our kids. It's extremely hard. And so they try to encourage us to build our relationships with the students and seek out if they need help or anything.
So you remember what you said at the earlier part of this conversation, Crystal? You said you guys fostered that conversation. So even Dr. Tenney, I'm struggling with the fact that we are waiting for the children, for our young people to come and say, I'm not okay, when we know they're not okay. There is no way that the trauma of this year could leave us okay. If I'm strong and I'm struggling, if we're strong and we're struggling, imagine if I'm still trying to develop my resilience. I'm still trying to develop that muscle of how to deal in the middle of challenge. So they're not okay. We're not okay. So that's, you know, um, we're on the roller coaster and we're taking the ride, but we're not, and deep down, especially our children, I don't believe they're okay.
Yeah.
And
And it is like you say, showing that you care, consistency. One of the schools that we're in Pompano, we have a portable trailer, and of course, school is not anywhere near capacity. So having the children just come and see us, right? And that's a difficult thing because, again, we have to get consent. So we send consent forms to say, hey, we're here through this BSO grant, just to have a conversation with your child. Can you sign this consent form? And most parents are able to, right? So technology, you can sign the consent on your phone. That gives us consent. We can send it home. We can send a PDF, however they need it done. We have them in Spanish. We have them in Creole. And then just get those consent. I think that there should be, well, again, we're working on a blanket therapeutic, like you say, so we don't have to wait until the teacher sees something. So we're just trying to get those consent signs saying nothing's wrong. We just want to have a conversation. And then in those conversations, as those kids see us every week, see us there, they open up and we, right, share, right, these are some of the things that we hear. This is some of the stuff that's going on with us. So normalizing it and letting them see that, as the Richmond daughter said, it's okay, because a lot of times they don't want to get, like you said, they don't want to get their parents in trouble by coming and telling anything. They don't want to stress their parents. They don't want to stress us, right? They don't want to feel like they can't cope because they may feel like they should know how to cope. And when you tell them, look, no, everybody is going through this right now, they start to open up. And again, it may not be in that first session, it may be that fifth week you're coming to see that kid, that they're like, okay, this person truly cares. They're here, and then they open up. So it's consistency. It's, as Mr. Richmond said, not the therapist saying, send us your kids, ask them a question, and then if you find something wrong, then refer them to us. No, they just need to pull every kid and talk to every kid consistently. Again, I know it's going to be a huge caseload after COVID, but right now, the kids that are back in school are the kids who need it the most, right? Because they are the parents who can't handle homeschool, right? I don't know 2 times 2, so he does math and I do all the other subjects. And Carter and I are asking Alexa so many questions. She's probably tired of us right now. But those who are in the school, they need something, right? They need that support. They need that one-on-one attention. They need lunch because there's not food at home, right? They need a safe space. They need a quiet space. Yeah.
Crystal, can you talk about the extension or the extended day school and how after school programming was also disrupted, and how many children relied on the fact, and even parents relied on the fact. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have extended day and all those different things to make sure that while I was at working, because I used to work those crazy hours that you guys talked about. So what happened with after school programs? Are they still happening? How, what are our kids doing for any recreation?
Well, when this all first started, like I said, went into a panic because I had a staff. And then automatically was like, they're going to be out of work. And then what are we going to do about the children? And, and it's just like Dr. Kenny was talking about, that checking in with them and that wellness check and knowing that they're okay. The reason I've focused on aftercare and stayed in aftercare programming and not moving on to teach or whatever is because we are that section between that student's day and before they go home. And we're the ones that they can talk to and let their hair down and get all of that out before they have to go home. Because by the time they get home, it's time for bed, or it's time for dinner, and it's time for bed. There's not much time. So if those kids had a bad day, they're to come to us and release that tension and release that stress. So when all of it started to shut down, I felt like, oh my gosh, I have 100 students I have to worry about right now on top of my own family. So what we did, and my partner was amazing, we put together an initiative to take to our personal program, which is 21st Century, and see about doing virtual with them. So we actually had a 50 to 60% capacity of students who actually logged in with us every day over the summer. We did activities with them. It was a change for the staff, especially because aftercare staff is used to going outside playing with them. They're used to doing homework with them. They're used to hands-on. So it was a definite transition. And thank God for my husband, because I said, okay, we have to go to Google Classroom mode. My partner told me that. I was like, what is Google Classroom? And I look over at him. We were literally sitting down here. He was like, oh yeah, we can do that. So thankfully, it was an easy transition. It was interesting, to say the least. And the issue that really resonated with me, though, was that 40% that we were not reaching. And thankfully, to my CEO, she created positions for my staff that we didn't have to let anybody go, because if they were not online with the kids, they were doing wellness checks. They were calling each and every one of those students and their families to see if they needed anything. At their will, we opened up we were part of food distribution in Lake Worth. So those types of things were going on. We also have a mental health specialist. We have 2 or 3 of them that are part of our program that service our children. So that if there was any need there, it was met. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, my CEO had us hustling. We were doing wellness checks. We were finding out where the free COVID sites were. She was at every board meeting for Lake Worth, and it gave a sense of hope because we were helping everybody to be okay. And this really was something that I feel like we needed, because you sit there and you feel helpless, like, what are we going to do? But we were able to not only check on these children, but their family. So now moving forward, when we came back into work, and it was really touching me when you said that it's only a drop in the bucket, because there's 1 or 2 of them to help out. The school that we facilitate to has 1,200 students, and they're not allowing, and it says I don't know if it's at our principal's discretion or not, but I know that they're not allowing anyone from outside on an MOU to come in. They're not letting mental health services come in, and we're not allowed to have ours come on campus either. So that to me has been stressful, because there are children who still need additional help. There are children that are going through things. And I had 2 of them who lost parents, and their own mom and dad can't deal with it, but they were like my daughter in talking to the children. They were saying, oh, we're okay. We're going to be okay. And that just broke my heart, because I know that's not the case. I know they're not okay. So that's been tough for me personally, to know that we can't get those additional services in. And it is for safety reasons, and I understand that. But we do the best we can to make sure to link them up with them outside of campus. Or I even set up one day where the therapist showed up and she said, look, I drove all the way from Broward. I said, and I understand it, but I facilitated where I had a staff go to the end of the fence with her and the student, and they sat out there and they played a board game. So whatever it takes to reach them, that's, how I feel about it.
I think that's awesome. And I would encourage you to speak with the Broward School Board. If you're, I know that's making more work for you. But again, you're not in Broward. I keep forgetting. So it may be a little bit different. And I know in Broward, I spoke directly with the school board and read their charter and read the information, and was able to speak firsthand with board members. And fortunately for Broward, it is up to the principals, and the principals have that control. And again, when they see the need, they've been open. Other schools have reached out to us. Again, unfortunately, we can't go into other schools because we're already spread thin. But if you can point out a model and you're in touch with Arlene can share our information with you, and you can say, look, where does it say we can't do this? This is working in Broward, and I would like to do it here. And if it's never been done before, okay, so we'll be the first ones to do it, and we'll
Absolutely.
yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think about Kaylee, and Derek, your extracurricular activity. How did you address that? What were you doing to keep yourself busy and still be active, or still enjoy any of your hobbies or interests?
Well, for a step, for like a little bit, I was going up to my mom's school because she had asked the boss if I could come up there to teach them, and got permission for me to go. So I would go about maybe 3 days a week, and I would just like teach them. And honestly, I wasn't really just going up there to teach them. It was because I wanted to be around them, because I knew that they were stressed out, and I knew I was stressed out. And when we would go there, it would, like, I would see them smile, and I'll be like, I really hope that this is helping them. And that would keep me busy, because I was just locked up in the house all day. So I couldn't really be around anybody. I couldn't like go anywhere. And that was the one place I could go. So it was like relieving.
Mm. And you were teaching them step?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So my drum major, my drum line, what did you do?
Well, so well before I started drumline with at my mom's school, I was with Kaylee and I actually made up a step for her. And then my mom asked me to be a part of a drum line, and it took time for me to think about it because I don't really like, ever since I stopped performing, it was like kind of, I was always nervous, but then I said yes, and we started practicing a lot, but I don't know what happened. So we didn't do it, but we were still practicing.
Okay, all right. So I
Yeah,
hear
you
you
say I
got,
put them to work, Arlene.
I gotta put them to work.
Sounds like
And
a page out of your book.
What are you talking
and
about, Zakia? Keep them busy, keep them busy.
That's
So,
right.
guys, what have we, if I can hear from all our young people,
Come on.
first, what have we not just learned, but what can be some of the things that we can say we take away, or even in the midst of challenge? Like Kaylee, when I just heard you, you found that when you went to help, you were doing something your mom asked you to do, but it was really also for you. And Zakia, you work with volunteers, and you're helping them still do something in the middle of
You're
the,
calling me a young person. Thank you
yes,
so much.
yes. You're doing something in the middle of the pandemic and helping people still stay busy. So I just want us to talk about how we have to give our listeners some ideas about some active um, things that they could be doing to maintain that some semblance of solace, normalcy, feeling like you're contributing or doing something so that you're not feeling so helpless. So if we can just unpack that or talk about some of the things we do. I know Carter has his garden, and that opportunity to work the garden and see something grow. So I just want us to talk a little bit about some things that has helped us.
I'll let all of them go first.
Go
I'll
ahead.
pick it up.
Share what you're doing. Carter wanted to share his extracurricular activities and what he's doing.
I do when
Sit
I'm
up, sit
not
up.
when I'm not in school. I do golf, tennis, hula hoop with my mom, play golf with my mom, or play tennis with my mom.
Oh,
Oh,
that sounds
awesome.
fun.
Awesome. And I saw a picture of you on the golf course with your own shirt, and Carter, you're a little businessman.
Oh yes, through this, Carter has been asking why can't he work, and then he's been seeing, well, I can work, and he's gone through ideas, and I say, well, you got to have a business plan, and he finally, after many ideas, he came up with he wants to do a clothing line, right? So yes, he started his own clothing line, and um, he's amazing with it. He has his logo. He's getting trademarked. He is on
Wow.
a roll.
Doing big things.
You
Yes,
know,
he even has his own website. His website is up. It's Carter Spectrum Golf, and we talk a lot about eliminating the stigma attached to mental health services.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to mute really quick because I want to call him to come back.
okay. Uh,
So Carter shares his story, and he's allowed me to share his story. And his story is online on his website. And he's open with talking about his struggle, his mental health struggle, having a mental health diagnosis. And he talks to parents and kids as to how he sees his behavior and his progress grow. Because he'll even sit and tell me, remember I couldn't do this, or remember I did that, and remember this, and now look what I can do. So he is a great advocate for just triumph and being able to overcome all obstacles put in front of you.
Absolutely, Carter. I'm excited. I'm excited. Congratulations.
Now I'm gonna have to go on that website.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carter, you have another person right there. Derek has his own web page and he is blogging. Or Derek, what are you doing on your own web page?
Oh my goodness. You're better than me.
So I have my own channel on YouTube, and so far because I've been posting videos on Fortnite gaming, but like usually I've been live streaming because I have nothing to edit my videos right now. And I just think that like I like doing it because there's so many people that do it and that inspire me. Like I said, Mr. Beast. And I also want to start blogging.
Okay, that's awesome. So you must be an excellent writer if you're blogging.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just like, I'm blown away by these young talents. I mean, I know I had ideas of a business when I was young, but it took me so long to launch, and they just gone and using all the technology. So why don't you take that, Zakia? What else?
Let's see. What am I doing, or what?
What else are some of the things that are people doing? Carter started a business. We have Derek blogging, and you have youth. What are they doing?
Well, with work, one of the things that's kind of become, it's something we'd done prior to the pandemic, but it's kind of blossomed into something completely different and bigger than we could ever imagine. At my job, we do what we call DIY projects, and everybody knows DIY, do it yourself, but we really want it to be DIY volunteering. So I basically put together a project, well, now multiple projects, because I'm really trying to allow for there to be multiple opportunities for the high school students who need those hours. But I put together a project that's going to benefit other, various agencies, nonprofit agencies around the county that need resources or need supplies for something or need something to help them serve the people that they serve that may not be a hands-on volunteering experience. So I put together a whole packet and I share it with them, and they sign up for it and they start working on their project and put it together, and it has blossomed into something before it felt almost like pulling teeth to get people to participate in it, because we would do one every month prior to COVID. But now, because people are looking for things to do, they're looking for ways to help, and they're not all comfortable going to an in-person project. They have been running with my little idea. My actually most recent project, my goal was to get 50 of them, and I exceeded that like 3 times. I think I got, for one project, over 175, my last count, and the other one was well over 100 as well, because everyone's just looking for things to do. And one of the things that I enjoy the most, well, Alex, okay, I can explain what they did. One of the things that I enjoy the most is the feedback I get from students, from parents, who are saying, I had a lot of fun putting this first aid kit together, because what I like to do is I set it up in a way where you're also still learning and understanding how different it is for people who maybe don't have easy access to certain things. And so I'll have people email me, can I just buy a first aid kit and turn that in? And I say, no, you have to go to the store and you have to get each item on this list and put it together, because that's a part of the project. And I always add some sort of reflection in there to help you see exactly, okay, how do you think this is going to affect the person who's receiving this? How do you think this is going to help the family? How do you think how did you feel having to purchase these items? I have parents who said, I told my kids to buy all the items and pick out the things themselves. And the kids who were saying, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how much a bottle of kitchen soap, a bottle of kitchen soap cost, because they had to put together a kitchen care kit of things that people use to clean their kitchens. Like, there's so many things, so much feedback that I get that makes it all worth it, because sometimes it is stressful trying to put it together. And then also me being the only one in the office to receive all of these items, it does become a lot, but that feedback and those responses make it all worth it. And I'm glad that I'm able to provide something, even though it's at home, it is still hands-on for people to do. And so that's a big thing that they're doing. And we've tried to, we just keep finding different ways. I know in the beginning we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And we were like, okay, hands-on at home. How do we do hands-on at home? And we had people doing reading videos and hey, just pick up trash around your neighborhood and send me a video or a picture of it and I'll give you service hours. Like, we were just trying to get as creative as we can be, and also encouraging, the students to be active and, continue to help and serve the community. So that's kind of what we've been doing.
Well, I can say on an adult level, there has been a lot of difficult transitions for individuals who are starting at our firm. We have a lot of young adults who just graduated from college and starting at a large firm and starting in a virtual platform. And it has been really difficult. And if you can imagine these young adults leaving college dorms and then starting and moving out of their parents' home, living in a place by themselves. And some of them are in new cities that they've never been at, and they don't really have a support system. So we've had to really come up with ways to, try to find them, individuals that they can connect with to help them through that. There's been, a number of people who are in there. So one of the things that I worry about a lot are those people who are at home by themselves through this pandemic, which has been really, really hard on individuals. And so we've started like a peer buddy system at work. We've made sure that we've had individuals that will check in on folks who are living alone and don't really have a support system around them. And so some of the fun things that we've had to do, just to create connections. Well, I've picked up puzzling throughout this pandemic.
Oh, yes, we've been puzzling and sharing puzzles and mailing puzzles to each other, ordering puzzles for each other on Amazon.
So one of the things that we've done at work is that we have split the puzzles in half or quarters, and we would send it to different individuals so that they can do the puzzles together virtually and have different sections. So that was a way that we created some connection there. And they've done a lot of really cool things. There's talent shows that we've done virtually that's been uplifting for some people. And it's just been really difficult to find all these different ways for people to connect and not feel isolated in a way that, we've all had to isolate ourselves. And it's really interesting that you're all talking about how difficult it is for the children. And in our organization, we have experienced an uptick in the number of people who need counseling. And so throughout this, and so what we've had to do and what the organization did, which I thought was a great thing, the organization used to offer 5 counseling sessions for the year for an individual, and they have moved that to 25 sessions just because the demand is there. And it's been, you know, it's been traumatic and it's been very helpful. So there's all these types of things that's happening out there to support individuals, and I think it's great.
You know, Delia, that's such a important point. Number one, technology, not everybody is technology savvy, and especially the grown folks, especially our seniors, you know, and they are part of the very heavily isolated population, you know. Like we long to see grandma, you know, and just to be able to hug her. And
I was so happy that I convinced her to re-download WhatsApp to do video calls.
Yes.
So, you know, that was a plus for me, and I'll take that as a win.
So just helping them navigate through technology so that we can stay connected in an environment that they're not used to and is very much uncomfortable. And then the fatigue of it all. We are working, even though we have adjusted this now Zoom world, work, virtual world, we're in meetings almost like we more than, you know, Derek, you talked about how you're trying to teach an online student and an in-class student. So you're doing a dual role. And so our work as even as adult we have had to adjust.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I can even give an example. My Mondays, I am working. Thankfully, I have a job who's very flexible with my schedule, but I'm working, you know, 8 to 1, a good hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, depending on the week. Of that time, I'm in a meeting, a Microsoft Teams meeting with my coworkers. And then I transitioned that same Monday to 3 o'clock being in Zoom for school. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I am training to be a marriage and family therapist. So we're doing our practicums, serving clients through Zoom as well. And so our main experience is that that's the only experience that I have right now. And that's been very interesting. And so I'm spending, you know, the entire time, and I've had to try to keep engaged, because even if I'm not serving a client and a classmate is, I got to help and make sure that, you know, I'm paying attention, I'm learning something from it, because it's very easy to say, well, I don't have to pay attention to this and I'm tired of being on here, and, you know, not stay engaged. So I think that I remember the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to shower, I'm going to put on clothes like I'm going to work, and I'll sit on my computer, set everything up. You know, that lasted maybe to May, and then I no longer did that. So, you know, it definitely is, after a while, you kind of like, okay, I'm still doing this. Why am I getting dressed to transition from my room to the kitchen?
And I can attest to that too, Kia, because when we started the online model for our kids, you know, everybody was gung ho about it. The counselors were excited, that they were, you know, nervous, and, you know, they had their work shirts on every day, and they were doing things. By month 2, they were dragging, their cameras were off, and I'm like, look, and he knows my struggle, because I was in here, turn your camera on. You expect the students to do it, you need to turn your camera on. And I lost 2 employees because they couldn't handle it. And then, as you're also saying about school, I was so excited to go back to school. And because I love the interaction. Well, we can't go on campus right now. Right. So I'm on the online model. I'm like, okay, which I'm, like you said, because our program is now hybrid, even though we're back in school. So I'm having to monitor 6 different classrooms. So I'm constantly at the computer watching that. During the morning time, it's all meetings with the CEO and the other directors. So then I have to come home on Wednesday and Thursday and sit at the computer for 2.5, 3 hours. And get this, no one in either class turns their computer on, not even the professor. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We're adults. Like, you don't want to interact and talk. So and I will tell you, just this sitting, I'm used to being up and about, moving back and forth all over the campus from the time I get there till it's done. This right here is more exhausting. It is so draining. It is so draining. And I'm thankful that we were able to do it and continue with the work, but I cannot wait to get back to normal life if that ever comes back again, because it's exhausting. It is so exhausting.
And so finding time where we can move, put on some music, whether Kaylee, we could listen to some of your K-pop or
K-pop.
K-pop,
K-pop.
K-pop, K-pop. Or we put on some music, we dance, we go outside, put on the mask and walk or something. We gotta get. I'm just like
something that I did that was really fun was a karaoke night in the house. Because there's tons of karaoke videos on YouTube, and I just looked up such and such song karaoke, and there's a list, and you can just sing until your heart's content. that was a lot of fun, getting up, using your remote as the microphone and dancing around the house. It was a lot of fun. And those are the little things we have to definitely continue to be creative, to find ways to stay interactive and moving and going, and not just sitting around watching TV all day, because we were doing that a lot before, and now that's all we have to do, it feels like.
Yeah.
So
and then when you look, Dr. Tenney, I just want to ask everyone, because we're talking about the pandemic, there has been so much else happening.
Yes.
Like, what is happening? You look at everything, and I don't even want to watch the news.
Yeah.
I'm asking parents, how are you filtering what our kids are watching, because it's a lot, and we have to help them navigate through what they're seeing, because I'm distressed about what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And so it's beyond the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Our society, and there's a disruption in our world. And so Dr. Ten, you were about to say, but I just wanted to put that out there because I just want you to touch on that too. It's a lot more than just the pandemic that's happening.
Well, yeah, I can definitely answer that question for you. So Carter is a little bit more socially sensitive than most kids, and he holds on to things. So I do appreciate this space where I'm able to protect him and control what information comes into him. You really don't have that control in school, right? He was in second grade coming home and saying, so-and-so taught me about sex today, Mom. And I'm like, what? And so there was a lot that he still talks about with his therapist that happened to him in aftercare, where he has suffered from traumatic experiences. And now, yes, I'm able to control and share with him at a level where I know he's able to handle it. He is aware of the racial injustice, how to be safe, how to navigate this world as a Black man, how to let someone know you have autism and you're sensitive to touch, you're sensitive to stimuli, and he may not react the way they're asking him to react because of whatever sensory may be going on with him. We've gone to DC, we've marched Black Lives Matters, we've done all of those things, but it's not the news, right? It's not allowing him to watch the news and the news predict his emotions and what stories he gets. It's his dad and I having the information and then bringing the information to him at a level that he can handle and he can digest. So yeah, that's my recommendation. I recommend that for my clients. I carry it for my kids. We don't watch the news. We prefer to read the news. So we have that information but we control the emotion behind it. And as you all know, even when you read it, it can be emotionally driven the way it was written,
Right.
but it's less emotionally driven. Um, and what I was going to say before, I'm 100% telehealth. So I'll be happy to help you with strategies as to how to sit. This is my spot, 10 hours a day,
Wow.
right? 10 hours a day. This is my spot. How do I do it? I have 50-minute sessions, and I make sure I take 10 minutes in between those sessions to go and walk with Carter. We have lunch. So that's his PE. So he's trying to teach me how to hula hoop. We're playing tennis, we're playing golf. We might just walk around the house, right? We roller skate around the house. So we are, I'm making sure that I get up from this spot,
Mhm.
right? Because before I had accommodated myself where I got gallons of water, I got snacks, so I don't even have to get up. But I said, no, I have to get up. I have to walk around. I can't just stay for 10 hours.
Right.
So I make myself get up, and Carter makes me get up because as he's in homeschool, and I'll hear him roller skating around, and I'll say, okay, it's roller skating time. And my clients know that I'm homeschooling. So there's that flexibility if I have to say, can you hold for a second? And I got to go because his computer crashed or whatever may be going on with him. So get a schedule, set alarms. When those alarms go off that says walk for 2 minutes, get up and walk for 2 minutes. It makes a huge difference, and you'll be able to see.
I'll just say that hearing you all's stories is very humbling because from my perspective, um, I think my employer called me back to work maybe like 3 weeks after the national quarantine was lifted. So for me, I've been going outside, driving to work, coming back home from work. Um, I'll stop at the Publix. I've been getting out. My perspective has been kind of normal, I guess, in the old school or pre-pandemic way because I still um, go to a site to do my work. And, I work with a research and development department and work with geeky people all day. So I have personal interaction with people. Um, we wear a mask, we stay our distancing as a result. But man, um, the weeks that we worked from home, uh, I guess there was no extended situation of that for me. So to the Richmond family, I mean, you guys are like unsung heroes as far as I'm concerned, because I guess our biggest struggle uh, during the early stages of the pandemic was trying to keep Carter engaged during the 6 hour school time. And there were certain rules and regulations that had to be adhered to as far as him being online. He can't be offline. He needed to be engaged and things of that sort. But once we transitioned him from the public online school system to the, what do you call it, the K through 12?
Florida Online K-12.
Florida Online K-12, he quickly adapted to that, and it fits right up his alley because there are less regulatory systems in place for that particular educational scenario than it was from the public school. So, man, you guys doing that hybrid situation, I'm hearing that and I'm like, I do not have the intestinal fortitude, I guess, to be able to go through what you guys have gone through. So my hat's off to you guys for hanging in there and still working with the kids. And um, fortunately, we are able to do something like that, to transition Carter to another scenario because she's been able to stay at home. I can't imagine parents who need to go to whatever work that they have to do and they can't be home with their kids. Their kids have to go to school, or they cannot pay attention to their kids for 6 hours at home. On, I mean, that in and of itself is stressful. So I guess I wanted to make sure that you guys know that you're very much appreciated. Your work is appreciated. You guys are unsung heroes, because my life right now is kind of easy because I still get to go out and engage with people. And um, yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, definitely all of you on this call. To me, everyone who's been able to weather through this and still maintain some semblance of joy and laughter and creativity and innovation, and there's all little heroes, because we've been able to weather the storm, and we are travailing, we're going through. You know, I had a interaction with another colleague, and we were talking about, we were working on a grant proposal, and we were just having a conversation. In between that, I just asked, so how is it? And it unpacked. And one of the things that she said that I felt was so impactful for me, and I want people to understand what our kids are going through, that she said it was difficult for her children to follow the schedule and be attached to the computer and stay focused and do all of that. That energy, that motivation you're talking about, Kaylee, and Zakia,
it's difficult for
that,
me.
That fizzled. And she said that there were days that from that triggered such an emotional response of crying and temper tantrums and whatever. And she said, my awareness allowed me to, say, you know what? No, you're not sitting in front of the computer today. Just lay here and cry. It's okay. If that's what you need to do, go ahead and cry. And I might just be right there crying with you, because it's okay. It's a lot. Someone else who may not know how to respond in that will say, suck it up. And you need to sit there in front of that computer and you need to get that work done, because I don't have no time for you and them tears. And we don't realize the responses we're giving to our children when they're trying to speak and share, and how we can shut them down with how we respond as the adults. So I just want to see if we can tap into that a little bit, because she said, Arlene, I just ended up laying there holding my son, letting him cry. And I cried because, as intelligent as I am, as skilled as I am, I couldn't figure out this online school thing. I was struggling to help them with their work. They were frustrated. I was frustrated. I was not created to teach. I don't know this stuff. And I'm at wit's end. And so I'm at wit's end, they're at wit's end, and we're at wit's end together. And so all she could do was just hold her child and allow him to cry. And that is okay. And I think us knowing that it is okay for those days when I don't feel like I can do it, and the tears is what comes, that it's okay. And I can feel okay to say that I'm scared, to say that I'm anxious or I'm nervous or whatever it is I'm feeling, that I have a safe place that I can share that. And the safe place to share that is home. And us creating that safety, that I can do that with the people that I care about, that I call family, or whoever those people are that I can share with, but that there is a place, and making that place is important. So could we just touch on that a little bit?
No, yes, definitely. I think some of the best moments Carter has is when he has a good cry and he's able to regulate his emotions on his own. I can think about yesterday, Arlene, we were on, and he was arguing with me because he didn't want to eat chicken. He wanted hamburgers. And again, when you're busy, it's like you want to give in, just go eat the burger. But I said, no, eat the chicken or don't eat, right? And go. And it's okay for you to cry. He went in his room and he cried, and he came back, and he came back with this card. Right. So this is what he was handing me yesterday while we were talking, and he apologized. He even put $5 in the card for me. I gave him the $5 back, but I could see that he knew it was what was best for him. It was okay. I didn't scream at him. I said, okay, if you're not going to eat it, that's fine. Then you can just go ahead and go to bed. He cried. He got himself together. He came back and he ate the chicken and told me it was the best chicken he had. So it was one of those lessons where, yes, it's okay. It's okay if you don't want to do what I need you to do, but there's a consequence. And as long as you're okay with that consequence, we're going to be okay. And he dealt with that. And he realized, right, maybe I should listen to mom. And he made me a card and brought it to me. And we have to provide those safe spaces. We talk about all of our mistakes that we make. Some of us who, well, especially me. So I have a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old, and they didn't get Dr. Tenney. Right? And they were two children who weren't as open with their emotions. So I'm finding now in their adult life that I did shut them down a lot unintentionally. I'm blessed with Carter because he's a different person. Ed says he is exactly the exact clone of me. And if I say something to him, he'll say, Mom, that hurt my feelings. You shouldn't have said it. You could have said it this way because, right? And he's expressive. So every time he says something like to me, I think, man, how many times did I say this to my 25-year-old and shut her down where she didn't have the ability that he has to check me, right? Respectfully say, that wasn't nice. I didn't appreciate that. That made me feel this way. And we have to create those spaces. And as Ed says, humble ourselves to kids have a voice. And when we take the time to be curious and genuinely ask a question and want to know what's going on, they will share with us, as the Richmond says, right? They saw that her behavior was different and stopped listening to I'm okay and was like, look, no, what's going on? And I'm sure they probably asked her a couple of times before she was finally able to say, this is what I need. And then when you ask what do they need, find a way to get it to them.
Right. And to that also, like I said, like early on, I became sick and then we lost someone and they were resilient through it. And I'm an emotional creature. I cry at the drop of a dime. I think it's also because I'm passionate. But in that, with me grieving so hard and dealing with things, I was also watching them and I told Derek, we were worried about them, of course. And I was like, they're okay. They're too okay. This is not okay. And us being their parents, we both knew at some point this is going to explode. And it was just, and sure enough, both of their behaviors started to change. So with DJ, he's like what you say with your son, which I love. I don't know if you saw us laughing. He will check us on how we're behaving, but if he doesn't like it, he's going to let us know. He's going to let us know how he feels, as opposed to my young lady here who holds it all in and she will shut down. So we have a very different, two different dynamics that we have to deal with.
And I'll speak frankly and honest. I'm a teacher and I'm also a football coach. So when you said, suck it up, deal with it, that was me. I was, you'll be okay. You can deal with it. But I wasn't understanding and realizing that I was dealing with scared I'm gonna lose my wife, dealing with I lost my godson. I haven't seen my mother, who is 77 and she lives by herself in Texas. I'm the one that I protect. I let them know everything is going to be fine. Everything is okay. If I have to cry, I don't let them see me cry. That's how I was. But then I realized I wasn't any help to them. I was not helping them dealing with what was going on. So I had to stop. And when I saw my daughter shutting down, just stop and just talk to her. Because Crystal was like, Derek, you realize you're not upset with her. You're upset with what's going on. And it took her talking to me. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? She's right. So I would speak to Kaylee, what's going on? How are you feeling? Okay, don't tell me I'm fine. I know you're not fine. You're just shutting down. Let's talk. So it took some growth for me to get to that point. And I'm glad it actually happened.
And also, I'm the same way as him because I know, like, after I lost my god brother and also when she was sick, I would basically just hold it in, and then I would be scared for my brother because it was that, like, us being locked in the house plus then everything on the news, and then also losing somebody. Like, I was like, I don't know if he's okay, and that's when I'll be like, I just need to suck it up. I can't let them see me cry. Like, I would cry in the shower. Like, I would just go and sit in the bathtub and I would just cry because I didn't want them to know I was crying. And then they would basically try to force it out of me because I would refuse. Like, I was so stubborn. I was like, I can't tell them how I feel. I just can't. Like, I was too scared to. And like, they were even like, do you want us to get you a therapist? Like, we need you to speak. Like, we can't have you acting like this because something's gonna happen. Like, we know you're gonna do something that you're gonna regret. Like, you need to speak now. And that's when I finally started talking to them little by little because it was honestly becoming too much for me to handle. Cause like, I would start having anxiety attacks like out of nowhere, and I'll just like freak out and like start pacing around the room like I don't know what's wrong, like what's happening. But yeah.
And we were terrified. I just want to kind of paint the picture because we are a very honest family. She's 13 years old, and the suicide rate is horrible, and it's even more so now during the pandemic. And that's how we lost our godson. So it was terrifying to know that she fell into depression, and then neither one of them understood why, and I couldn't even understand why because we were so close to him up until the days of it happening. So I'm so thankful we're in a better place now about it, but it was just like a whirlwind, just constantly going around and around because we could not reach her, and she was constantly fighting back in a way of I'm fine. I'm fine. And she would even tell me, I have to be okay for you. And me as a mother, that was horrible. It was a horrible feeling to know that my 12-year-old at the time was trying to be stronger for me than I could be for myself. So it was it's been, like I said, when you ask how we're doing, we're definitely mending. And we're in a better place, but we still have work to do.
I would like to encourage you guys and let you guys know that this is a defining moment for you all. And um, I would love to be around maybe like 5 years from now and hear you tell your story, to just be able to share all that you've learned, the growth that you've attained, to look back and like laugh at how Kaylee was so pent up and then she let loose, and how Derek learned to be a blogger. You guys have a testimony for other families to be able to share this. This is a victory through struggle that you
Yes.
guys have obtained.
Yes.
And you guys should look at this as a defining moment as a family. And maybe, I don't know how you could do, maybe have like a dinner and celebrate your victory of being able to overcome these circumstances, and look forward to actually more challenges, because you know that you have the ability to rise and overcome.
Yeah. And again, taking power from your story. And that's a lot. That's what Carter and I worked on a lot during this pandemic, because when he was in school, he's he's visibly different, right? So the kids would say, "Oh, Carter's special, Carter's strange, Carter's this, Carter's that." And it made him feel right less than and ashamed of. And he actually was in school right before the pandemic and said, right, if one more thing goes wrong, one more person teases me, I'm going to kill myself.
Right.
And it was at that moment I was like, really? Right? So we have to be able to talk to them, and for your daughter, like you said, to own her story. Yes, I've grown through this and I'm okay. And how many people will I help to take the stigma away from it? Because it was this bad thing that she couldn't do. And maybe she is in therapy, or hopefully she will get therapy and she can unpack what was it that made her feel like she couldn't be what she truly was, and how is she now, and how empowering is that? Because again, now Carter will walk up to you and say, my autism looks like this, right? I got an eidetic memory. I'm weird. I'm funny, right? I'm this. And he's okay with it. And people will say, well, you're weird. And he's like, yeah, I am. Right? It no longer, right? It no longer is that thing. Right? And again, you've been depressed, right? Who hasn't been depressed? Right? Who hasn't?
That's right.
And how have you overcome that? And now look at you. Look at what you're doing. Look at you. You're here sharing your story. And this is how we take the stigma away from that. This is how that one kid that may be thinking about contemplating suicide will hear your story and Carter's story and your brother's story and say, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it too. And this is what they did. Let me try that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you. And I would love to further, communication with you guys, because this is just so uplifting and empowering for sure. And I think you're doing amazing work, and I'm so thankful for you and your line of work and what you're doing with the mental health, because it is so necessary.
Yes.
So
Crazy knows crazy.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's true.
This is just exactly what I wanted happen. I just want to, if I can close out with something I heard from Derek. Eddie, you touched on it. Lance, I love you to touch on it, but I have this thing about men and our men and how much we need you to just be in tune and in touch. with your emotions and how your demonstration of your strength does not mean that you're just strength in I'm paying the bills, I'm meeting the need, and I got the family covered. But your strength is also in your vulnerability and your willingness to be vulnerable in the presence of your family so that they can glean from that strength and know that I know my dad is strong, but I can see his strength also in his tear. And I didn't just as the parent cover up the struggle that I'm experiencing because I want to shelter our children. And so then we can't understand later on why they struggle to navigate because we sheltered. And Dr. Tenney, when you talked about filtering how we share and what we share so that we can help them have those teachable moments, so that we can empower them and equip them with the tools. So as we just close out, know that I'm just so full right now because I am on assignment, and my assignment is to strengthen families and to empower families to thrive. And this conversation was so rich, and it is exactly what I want to do as many times as I can so that more families can hear our story we shared tonight. They can feel empowered by your story, Kaylee. They can see you, DJ, and you, Carter, and be inspired and say, "What? They're doing that? I can," So I just feel enriched. And so, Derek, when you share that vulnerability, I just want the three men on this call, fathers, if y'all can just touch on that, please.
All right, so and it was definitely hard, right? Because coming from Jamaican background, it was always like you like Derek said, suck it up, move on, do what you gotta do. I grew up playing sports all my life. I mean, that I played at high levels, and it was always like just go out there, get it done. There's no emotions out. There's no crying in sports. There's no crying in this. You just do what you gotta do. Suck it up because real men don't cry. Real men don't have any emotions and stuff like that. You just do what you gotta do. But the thing is, though, too, as I got older and realized about what and I've always said this: stop trying to be the man and just be a man. And then we got to find out what exactly a man is, right? And it's a part of having that emotional breakdown at times. That sharing who you really are inside and what you really feel. And I've learned that over the years, and a lot of it, like you said, though, as I guess evolved more as a better parent. Where the fact is that I realized that being a parent wasn't the fact that it's me telling Zakia or Marisha what to do. It's about us having conversation and learn from each other. Because I really believe that I grew more as I started listening. And it was like, and what it was is just taking some practices that I invoked in my professional careers and all kind of other stuff, about, two-way, three-way conversations. But then I realized I wasn't really doing that in my life because I felt like as a parent, or as the man in the household, it's, hey, I'm the guy. I'm the lead here. I protect everything. I jump out front. I'm the one that's going to shield everybody, but not realizing that, that's not the right way to do it because we're talking about family. It's not fam person, it's family, right? It's all of us, not just me. So, so that you start really understanding. And the thing is though too, and then learning a lot from Delia, a lot from you, a lot from other folks, that, and I saw that, and I had good, I would say examples to learn from, but I also realized I learned a lot from bad examples because I realized that when I watched other folks that thought there was like, real parents or real fathers and stuff like that, and realized, what though, that really wasn't a good example. And I said that, what though, that's something I never want to be or never want to do. And that kind of drives me more than some of the positive influences I had. But it definitely took some evolving, and I think that a lot of us are learning from that now. I think that, as we evolve more as parents, especially as men, we're realizing that it's not that even though we survived what we grew up with or some of the examples, really wasn't the right way to do it. So, and I think that as we're teaching our sons and our daughters that, hey, it's more to being a parent, more to being a man than just being somebody who's just seen as a strong, stern, unbendable, non-flexible figure.
Thank you.
And before you move on to the next person, just want to grab something from what you said. There's something I like to keep in mind. Just because it's the normal way to do it doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. So that's something that I always like to remember.
Absolutely.
Okay. One thing I'll share as well. I grew up the only child and just my mother. I didn't have a father figure. And so, and what I noticed was that, which I didn't realize it until later, I was grasping at other role models of what a father was, what a husband was. And so I had all these different role models and examples I was looking at and trying to implement into my life, into my role. And then I was even using my wife's father, my father-in-law. Okay, well, how does he handle this? How does he handle that? Until I realized I need to be me. I need to be who I am as a man, as a father, as a husband. And so one thing I know I realized that, like growing up, and I know my mom is probably watching, but it was, you do what I say. Don't question, that's it. And so now with them, I talk to them. This is why you're in trouble. This is what I expect of you. This is your responsibility. So that I feel like as a father, I want them to understand the rules of life and not just go through life saying, okay, why did I do this wrong? Why am I getting in trouble? Oh, to think for yourself and to be your own person and own who you are. Like I'm raising a young man myself. And so I want him to understand what it is to be a man and to share his feelings and I want him to learn now, not how long it took me. So.
Thank you.
I guess for me, I still don't feel like I'm a grown man because there's always something to learn, something to grow with, a lesson that needs to be taught. And so I guess I would say that as a base or foundation, just have, not even as a man, but just as a person, have a set of core values that you stand by. And those core values will help drive how you want your children to be. And once those are established, because there are no rule books as far as parenting, the only rule book that you have to follow is what that kid gives you. And that kid is giving you a personality that you have to learn, that you have to digest, so that you can understand where they're coming from, that particular kid, where that particular kid is coming from, and use those core values to help mold and bring that kid to a point where they can function in society without getting murdered, killed, or killing somebody. So for me, manhood, I think you touched on it earlier, Miss Arlene, is just having the courage to be vulnerable, to be willing to know, to say, I don't know, teach me how to do it, as opposed to saying, I don't know how to do this, but I am sure not going to let anybody know that I don't know how to do it because I'm a man, that type of thing. I think that that is a man's or a person's biggest mistake, to not acknowledge when they need to know something or to learn something or to be willing to be taught or to be willing to learn. Um, Other than that, parenting is just, you just got to know your kid and do the best you can with whatever you got to work with and just work with it. And, just don't be arrogant, be humble, be willing to learn. And like I said, I'm still growing. I'm not a man yet. I'm 60 years old, but I wouldn't say that I'm a complete man. That may not happen until I breathe my last.
Well, everyone, wow. So
that was a good way to end it. I have nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This topic we just ended on. Know that we will have a whole conversation just set aside for this topic alone around parenting fathers, because it's just something I'm really passionate about. And I just think there's so much more meat you have to share. For everything you've all shared tonight, I thank you for your vulnerability. I thank you for your candid willingness to share. I thank you for every nugget, every thought, every advice that we have been able to share together. And I wanted to have this very organic conversation, and that's what we had tonight. And so, each and every one of you, you're a blessing. You are essential, you are necessary. And the role that you play in whatever path you have taken is part of your purpose. And I'm thankful for you, and I'm thankful for the divine connection of all of us. And I'm thankful for my daughter here. I continue to learn from her, and I get to feel inspired every day when I see her blossoming, and I'm getting enriched because she's teaching me and sharing with me, and I'm learning from her. And we're cross-pollinating. We're cross-pollinating as a community, and as a family. And one of the things I just want to share with all of you, we IC Group, this company, we are on Reviving Sunday Dinner. And so that's one of the things that we are doing. We are really working on reviving Sunday dinner because we know the importance and the value of us together as a table and sharing. And we've been doing Sunday dinner virtually, and it has been such a wonderful connection, and we laugh. And it started off, we were supposed to be on for 2 hours, and now we're on for like 4 hours. Till like 9 o'clock at night from 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're eating and talking about who got pie and didn't have pie, and so we're
playing games, trivia.
So this truly has allowed us to get closer, and then the other thing that we're doing is as of April 1st, we're kicking off a 30-day Thriving Family Challenge. And so from April 1st to April 30th, we're going to just be very intentional. I'm trying to make sure I engage just at least 12 families who are willing to say, I want to really strengthen my family. I want to really learn for us to reconnect, share love, find joy in togetherness again, laugh more. And so we're going to do that. We're going to, and even get some exercise and physical, and take care of our mental, physical, and emotional wellness all in the process. And so we're doing that. So please consider visiting our website, www.icgroupllc.com, and see all the great things that we're doing. And everyone here on this call, are part of the IC family, because, you know, y'all are all embraced. And so I just thank you all for investing in this evening. Everyone who was listening, everyone who tuned in, thank you for investing, because your time is valuable.
Yes.
And I see all of you are busy, but you took time out today. So thank you. I appreciate you. And I just want to say have a good night. And we will be talking again on another evening of a chat. So anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you all. Good night.